If during the pregnancy his mother fell over, under the influence of hypnosis, the child can remember the shock it felt in her womb. Whatever is your illness today, its root cause lies hidden in your childhood. When a child is born, its consciousness is one, undivided. There is neither a conscious mind nor an unconscious mind. Have you ever wondered why we can't remember being little kids? It's a fascinating mystery that hides in plain sight within our minds. Why is it that our earliest experiences, our first laughs, cries, and steps, seem to slip away from our memory like sand through our fingers? No child ever says his childhood is full of happiness. Children want to grow up fast. It is old people who say their childhood was full of happiness. There is a misunderstanding somewhere. If you ask a child what he would like, he will tell you he wants to grow up. There is a burning desire in children to grow up quickly, yet old people say that childhood was very happy. Why? Childhood, a time of pure wonder and discovery, is often idealized as a period of happiness and innocence. But is it really so? Psychologists like Jean Piaget suggest otherwise. Piaget, one of the most influential psychologists of 20th century, after experimenting with children for 40 years, found that the memory of the first 5 years of life is very poor, almost nil. Was there no memory formation before then? There was. Were there no events before you were 5 years old? There were. In those early days, did no one abuse you? Did someone not love you? All these things happened, but why then is there no memory of those first 4 or 5 years? Perhaps those early days weren't as idyllic as we'd like to believe. Piaget says that early childhood days were so unhappy that the child does not want to remember them. Child feels weak, helpless, and so dependent that he suppresses the memory. He simply drops those days from his memory. Because when his father told him to get up, he had to obey. If his mother told him to sit down, he had to obey. Everyone around him was more powerful and he could not go against them. He was as helpless as a dry leaf in the wind. He had to do whatever he was told. He was dependent on others for everything. Just a hint of anger in the other's eye, and he was frightened. But if he is hypnotized and asked to remember events from before he was 4, or even when he was in his mother's womb, he will remember and describe them. If during the pregnancy his mother fell over, under the influence of hypnosis, the child can remember the shock it felt in her womb. But in ordinary consciousness, such memories cannot be recalled. But everybody says that childhood days were such happy days. Had they really been happy, those memories of the first 4 years would be available. Because we preserve the memories of happiness, it is the unhappiness that we tend to forget. Had our childhood been happy, it would have crystallized in our memory. We would never have lost sight of it. And herein lies the reason why we have the idea that childhood was such happiness. It is because our mind drops all painful memories and keeps those that are pleasant. So, when a person looks back on the past, he only sees happiness. Whatever unhappiness was there in between the pleasant moments is forgotten. Those 4 years that we have forgotten have become our unconscious mind. We always like to remember happy moments, and whether we were happy or not, we live in happy memories. When you first met your beloved, you were so happy. When you think about it today, it was such a great event. But when you meet her today, that happiness is reduced. Then again, within the next 24 hours, you will magnify it. We magnify the happy events and minimize the unhappy ones. There is so much unhappiness in life that if we did not magnify happiness, it would be difficult to live. It is for this reason that Sigmund Freud, a neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis, who worked most deeply on the human mind, concluded that whatever is your illness today, its root cause lies hidden in your childhood. All that we have repressed during our childhood will follow us like a shadow throughout our life, influencing our personality and coloring all our actions. All psychoanalysis is the process of going back to childhood memory. They see it as their first task to restore the lost memories of childhood to their psychiatric patients. You may go mad when you are 60, but the seed of your madness might be lying in those first 4 years. Over the years, that seed has become a tree. If we dig down to those roots and cut them away, the whole tree will die. Think of your mind like your favorite video game or app. There's the part you see and play with. That's your conscious mind, the thoughts and decisions you're aware of making. But behind the scenes, there's a lot more going on that keeps the game running smoothly. That's your unconscious mind. It's where all the background actions happen, the memories and feelings you don't think about every day. Remember, when you learn to ride a bike and now you can do it without even thinking, that's your unconscious mind in action. It's powerful, handling things you learned so well you don't need to think about them anymore. As per scientists, 95% of our brain activity is controlled by unconscious mind. When a child is born, its consciousness is one, undivided. There is neither a conscious mind nor an unconscious mind. There are no such divisions. The process of division begins when we start teaching the child what is right and what is wrong. You are not to do this, this is bad. It happens with every child because the parents would like the child to be just a carbon copy of them. Their ego would like the child to represent them, their philosophy, their religion, politics, nationality, race, everything. The child has to be the carrier of all their ambitions and desires, of all their frustrations, failures. They are hoping, we will die, but part of us will live in the child. So they program the child in such a way that what we have not been able to achieve, he will achieve. For the baby, nothing is bad and nothing is good, yet. He has not even thought about such things. We implant such thinking in him. And we are powerful. We reward him for doing what we call right and punish him for what we call wrong. The child is alone. He is very natural, but he is alone, weak, helpless, and he is dependent on those who label these impulses as wrong. It is they who feed him and clothe him. They can beat him and punish him. What is the child to do? Nothing dies just because we categorize it as bad. So, the child begins to repress it. Repression begins, and whatever the parents and society call wrong, the child pushes into the basement of his mind. And it is all this hidden away stuff that becomes unconscious. This is how the unconscious is born. You may have noticed that at the first sign of fear, children close their eyes. Perhaps they think that if they cannot see, then the fear will go away. This is the logic of the ostrich. Seeing an enemy, the ostrich buries its head in the sand. This way it cannot see the enemy, so it thinks there is no enemy there. What is not seen does not exist. Only what is seen exists. What is the child to do? We have no idea of the child's dilemma. So, the child begins to create an inner blindness so that he cannot see the bad things in himself. Reflect on your major qualities. Identify patterns in your life. Talk to your parents or trusted sources about your childhood behavior. Seek insights, journal, or discuss your findings. Approach this with self-compassion and embrace it as an opportunity for growth.